We are now recording.
Okay, well, thank you, everybody. I just called the meeting to order, so that makes me, as of right this moment, the head of what I'm calling a joint committee to host a meeting for the Parks and Recreation Commission on August 18th. And I'll share my screen because I threw together an agenda to discuss before we get started, see if you have anything else. Want to just do quick introductions for people and who you're representing, which organization or organizations that you're representing on the committee. Discuss some expectations for the commissioner meeting. Outline organizations we would like to invite and their status, and also kind of what role or how what we particularly thought the commissioners would like to meet them. Begin an action list outlining our roles with responsibilities and anticipated due dates. We're just about a month out, so just kind of keep us on track. The last one is schedule the next meeting. Anything else people wanted to put on an agenda?
I'm good with it, but I would list me as foil.
Oh, thank you. Oh, that's very thoughtful, because I did
send,
or am in the middle of sending a message to foil. So that would be super. Thank you.
Yeah. Since I'm on that board. So.
And I think I'm hoping that Mary will, someone from Heritage Trust, it depends on what's going on in her life, but I did send a message to the outreach group. I think there's another person on that outreach.
She's no longer the head of outreach. She's still on it, but I don't know who that gentleman is. I don't remember.
Okay, so we'll follow up with that. Okay, great. So quick introductions. I guess, is there anyone who needs an introduction? Dave, do you represent any other organizations that you would like to be listed as?
No, I'm 100% on PDAC.
Okay. And Terry, I assume you're Parks and Rec. Are you any other organizations? You can wear two hats.
Wait, you're cutting out a little bit.
Oh, sorry, Beth.
So Parks and Rec is, oh, go ahead.
Is Parks and Rec enough for you? Do you have any other organizations you want to list?
Sure. No, Parks and Rec is good.
Okay. Okay, super. Well, let me get down to for the details then. So Terry had been thoughtful enough to share with us an email, and I just thought I would capture that, Terry, so we can just kind of look over these key points you did cover for us, because we asked some questions about the commission and what we would expect. And so here are your answers. So let's see here. And anything else about, you were saying just, hey, obviously the meeting is open to the public, but what kind of vision did you have, Terry, when you're thinking, gee, it'd be great to have as many of the organizations represented?
Well, we have not set our commissioner's agenda yet.
Oh, I see.
So if there's a topic that an organization on the island would like to have as an agenda item, we're open to that. I think the public doc that's already been discussed in the agenda part, but we have public comment. And what I've discovered, not just in Parks and Rec, but on the other government committees I'm on, is people know very little about the island. It's someplace out there.
Yeah.
And there's an issue about a ferry. There's something about a ferry boat, and that's about the extent of it. Some people might have been here once, and some people have never been here. And so I think it's an opportunity to introduce the island to people. What our goal is that the public doc be a note in the comp plan, Parks and Rec comp plan. It's been, Mike McFarland did say a note, but we have a new director coming in. So I think, and I don't know if he will be at our meeting or not, but I think we need to do a more solid presentation of who Lummi Island is. And I made it a who, not an it.
You bet. You bet. Okay, great. Well, we'll ask, and I'll throw out one or two ideas when we get farther down to the organizations, because I did have talked to some people recently. Okay, great. And we're looking like we might have 7 or more people here.
Yes,
We have talked about a tour, and I understand their concern about being in a lot of them in a closed car together. So I thought we would brainstorm some when we in a couple of minutes about how we might handle that if there's other options for that. Right now, that you will not plan to have a hybrid meeting then.
correct.
Okay. So, and we recognize, I mean, that might change. Months to go, I guess we could have changes, but so right now we will. I've inadvertently there might be a left into the tome. They might have mentioned by Zoom.
Yeah,
But,
they did. Yeah, Paul did have it in there.
yeah. So
I-
we'll send it back out in a brown Betty, right? So I don't think that's. And
It's,
we will add it to the calendar. The calendar of events for the island online. I just have to have someone teach me how to add events. And there are a couple of notes, and I think that will be important for us to, all of us to express to the committee that we can only imagine what a year this has been. I mean, on top of COVID, then this massive flooding. Super impressive that Hovender Park has actually gotten as far along as it has. And you said this next July meeting is will be there.
Yes, we'll be at one of the picnic shelters at Hovender Park, and most of the park is open. The Tenant Lake Interpretive Center is not yet. It had a lot of damage, so we're still working on the Interpretive Center.
Okay.
I'll get an update on that next week, but Hovender had the highest attendance during 2020 of any park in the county.
It's impressive.
Well, and because of the pandemic and the issues of public health and safety, and then mental health, I'm on the community transportation advisory group. And so we set up the WTA's free buses to the trailheads and parks to get people out, just to get them out. And I went over there a couple of times, and it's interesting what people did do to be entertaining. There were scavenger hunts. Parents went in advance, set stuff out. It was really, really fascinating. They got excited, and some people that I spoke with had never been there, and they live in Ferndale.
Oh my, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, hang on just a second. Mary is calling me. Let me put myself on a mute just a moment and you talk amongst yourselves.
Terry, do we have the timing for the meeting? And what time the group will come over on the ferry?
I'm sorry you cut out. What was that?
Oh, I was asking for the time of the meeting and what time do you think the commissioners will come over on the ferry? I was thinking about this island tour, and I think the most important thing, at least for us on the PDAC, right, would be we can go down to the waterfront access park and talk about the dock site. And we are meeting at the Grange, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And we have our meetings are at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
And so we have the Grange from 4 till 9.
How early do they plan to come over to the island is, I think, the question.
Yeah, but it makes sense.
That part I do not know that yet.
Okay.
This is last month we had our first in-person meeting in 2.5 years.
Yeah, okay.
And that was at the Bellingham Senior Center. The senior centers are also what we manage. So I manage the senior center in Ferndale. So we're trying to get us out too, get us off Zoom. So the Bellingham Senior Center was last month. Hovender is next week. Lummi Island is next month. Silver Lake Resort Lodge is the following month. And then in October is Bay Horizon Activity Center in Birch Bay. And then we'll know, if we're going to be able to meet at a location in November or if we go back to Zoom.
Mhm.
Okay. So it's interesting. I feel like we might want to have, maybe when we do the Brown Betty announcement about the meeting, maybe we'll have a little bit more, a longer blurb about what's going on with Parks and Rec, something like that. So we have a little bit more framework context for people.
I think I agree. I agree. I think people are confused on the island, or confused because of that Parks and Rec effort to create a district over here.
Mm.
I think that was 2 years ago. And so some people have what I think I might do? I'm having an internet fragmentation on occasion. I'm going to start walking to a better location.
Okay.
I will be back.
Okay.
Take my laptop with me.
So I heard Dave mention about some things to do during the meeting. So I think if we're done with a little bit of background, and as Terry brings up things, I'll go ahead and keep adding notes to that section on about Parks and Rec, because I think that it would be great for us to have a better warm welcome kind of thing, with some of the recognition of all the effort Parks and Rec has made, especially during COVID, to try to keep us outside, healthy outside, and in a good mental frame of mind. So I think we could have a very positive view presented about Parks and Rec. Sure.
Yeah, I mean, this has been enlightening for me, just getting to know Terry and hearing about all the activities Parks and Rec does. I think it would be great if you folks could present some of that to the Islanders, and then, right, it gives everyone a better feel for, what you do and what we're trying to do here.
Yeah, so Dave, and that's a kind of funny thing, because of course this is their monthly meeting, so the commissioners' monthly meeting. So I think that's kind of the balancing, where I'm hoping that before the meeting we'll have an opportunity to meet with them, to figure out ways to take them in person, or one idea I'll kind of throw out there is whether we could maybe do something at the Grange, almost like the mini Saturday market, where we had some organizations with like a little table and just a meet and greet, sort of get to know island life, bring the tome, do we have a startling number of organizations on this island. And try to give maybe some graphic, and especially those things that tie directly in, true, because I think things like the library, because is also a county, or part of the county. Our senior centers, the parish health ministries, Meals on Wheels, and Elderberries, and the Gathering Place. So I think that when we figure, again, we have another 3 or 4 weeks to come up with kind of the story we would like them to take away, and as many people as they could meet. Yeah, Alan.
Question. I see the concern about being in cars, with other people, and so we could always just do it as a caravan.
Yeah, I wondered about that, Terry.
Because I think Heritage Trust would definitely want to. Well, I'm speaking. I'm taking a wild guess, but it's a pretty good one. I think they would want to show what what kind of preserve work has been done. I think the Congregational Church and the Gathering Place would like to be able to show what's been going on. And so those are at least in the library. I think it'd be nice to have them see the library. That could be a first stop, actually. But yeah, if there's a problem with they don't want to be in a car with a driver, we could just do it as a caravan type thing. And that, they have an itinerary, you have a lead car that's one of us, and we just drive slow and make sure that all the ducklings are behind us, and we go to these spots in sequence in a predetermined sequence. Because if they've not been to the island,
Oh, it's so hard
we need to show them the island.
to see it. Yeah.
And that would include running around to the west side of the island, I think. So that's one way we could possibly do it if they don't want to be in a small car. Now, another thought I had was we have another organization on the island that happens to have a shuttle bus. Greg, are you there? Have I lost Greg? Greg,
I had to unmute.
it's okay. Is that a possibility?
It's a 16-passenger van. It's not really a shuttle bus per se. You know, it depends on how many members do we have, how much do we put on in there, and then again, the whole COVID thing, we're in a van.
Yeah, okay. But it has lots of windows. Okay, so I'm just suggesting that
and the advantages there are that you have narration that's continuous as you're traveling.
Yeah.
The other way to do that is we find some sort of audio bridge that we're able to keep in all of the cars so that there is a bridge narration going on. Coming up on your right is Sunset Beach. Sunset Beach also, you know, you get the idea.
Yeah. Yeah, and Sunset Beach is also a good point, because that property was, the access to that beach was donated by the family. So, and it's got a big old Whatcom sign on it. So that, yeah, that's a good point.
Can I make a comment, Lane, on the Ligo Bay?
Yeah.
We should point out the boat ramp there, which is
Oh, yes, thank you.
actually private property, but
Yep. Good point.
Point out. Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
May I make a quick couple comments?
sure.
Okay. Just a quick comment. I was surprised at the number of people on Lummi Island that did not know that Sunset Beach is part of the Parks and Rec.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm one of those. And once I was commissioned, I got my map that shows all the parks and trailheads in Whatcom County. And so I was studying the island, and I was like, what's this? And it's Sunset Beach. So the sign is tiny, but it is a sign. And then my other comment, the Saturday market inside the Granger on the patio, the deck, I think is excellent idea. If it's outside, I think it's an opportunity. We get an opportunity for the organizations if it's geared towards the organizations. And then Lane, you made a comment about businesses. I used to be on the LICA board years ago. And at one point we were trying to figure out how many businesses were on the island.
Good luck.
40. There were over 40 businesses, and that was years ago. Now you have Vrbo and Airbnb, and but what we discovered is those weren't established yet. They were B&Bs.
Yeah.
And we had thought about starting a chamber of commerce just to kind of help all the businesses and manage tourism in a thoughtful and measured way. And we discovered that some of the owners of the B&Bs were not necessarily paying taxes.
Yeah. Yeah, we're aware of that currently. But we are making efforts to make inroads on things like that. But that's down the road a little bit. What date is the meeting, the Parks and Rec over here coming up?
August 18th is a Thursday.
August 8th is Thursday. Okay. Okay, so it's not, it doesn't correspond to a Saturday market at all, but we could have something similar to it, at least for the organizations.
Yeah.
And if they're uncomfortable having, well, they can't be uncomfortable having the organizations in the Grange ahead of the public meeting, because the public meeting is going to have people in it. So they've got to at least be comfortable with doing that. But I think, yeah, organizing to have the organizations represented at the Grange, and also do some sort of a drive tour in some manner to show them the island would be great. Even getting up into scenic estates, because, and I Terry, your comment of it's not the island, it's the people, is important, because the people are the ones that vote.
Correct. May I at this point add something that I've worked on in the past that was very successful? Or should I wait?
No.
No, go right ahead. I think, I mean, I would say go right ahead anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. In 1976, Whatcom County approved the design for a berm, a pedestrian pathway in Birch Bay. Birch Bay is not a city. Birch Bay community did not realize that because the county approved it doesn't mean they were going to do the work. Because they're not a city, they didn't know that, and they did not have the infrastructure to move the project forward. So when I started working with them was when I was initiated into the Council of Governments in Whatcom County, which is representation from every city in the county, and also every agency within the cities and also within the county. And it's the executive director is amazing, and we have professional lobbyists who work for us all the time. And we are very quiet and successful. Just quietly do our job. And the thing that's been helpful is something that I applied with Birch Bay, is nobody knew Birch Bay other than it's a great place in the summertime. And a lot of the people in Whatcom County and the elected officials did not really know. So what we started to do, and the community, my background is in lobbying and marketing. So we needed to find the numbers, and they gave me some numbers early on that we pulled together in one meeting, and it left the community members speechless. From Memorial Weekend to Labor Day weekend, from the state park to the water slides, there's over 600,000 people that come. And yeah, I saw your face, Dave.
Wow.
And that's exactly what we needed to have happen. So then we started collecting the data. We started collecting the population. Some of the people who have been living there all this time, who were in this committee, did not know that they had 8,500 people there. And my comment was, that's a voting block. And then we did some research. Couldn't get a lot from the county just because Birch Bay is where you go in the summertime. They hadn't collected the data, so we went to the state. And the amount of tax dollars that those 600,000 plus, depends on the season, 600,000 people spent was, on the average at that time, it was $150 per person in Memorial Weekend to Labor Day weekend. That's a lot of money. I took that to the county council, and I mean to the Council of Governments, and all of a sudden it's as valuable as Bellingham, as valuable. So then we started collecting more data with your demographics. And one of the community members created a booklet called Birch Bay by the Numbers. You remember as a kid, Color by Numbers?
Oh yeah.
That was the Birch Bay by the Numbers. So I'm suggesting that you do the same, because it only took us, about 2 years of meeting every week, at least once a week. And in those meetings, we started bringing in the county council members, because they're the decision makers, and we did them one at a time. you can go to the county council chambers and you can stand there and say all kinds of stuff to the crowd. But they say thank you very much and send you on your way because your 3 minutes are up. But if you bring them to your home, one at a time, and you have a plan, it's not a chit chat, it's cozy, it's comfortable, and it's warm and welcoming, but you have an agenda. And at the end of that, we got unanimous votes to buy more land. And now we have a park right on the beach, on the drive. We found $2.5 million from conservation futures funds. And the committee did it, not the council, not the government. The committee did it. They got excited about finding the numbers and then telling their story. And that's where you could still afford to buy a home. And it's oftentimes it was the trailer parks. You need to know the story so you can build on it. And the numbers were impressive. And then safety. We were able, because I worked a lot with Bill Alpha, I worked on his campaigns and asked for numbers of accidents on the drive. What are the numbers? Well, lots of people get nicked by the mirrors of cars as they're going by. Because there's no, I don't know if you've been out to Birch Bay Drive. Have you?
I was just there.
Yeah, so was I.
So before the berm, you only had that part on the side of the road, on each side of the road, which oftentimes wasn't groomed, blackberry bushes and stuff. And then that was the bicycling for children and strollers, and it was a hazard. So we had in significant numbers. So we started using phrases, public health and safety. You have to get people out and about. This was compelling. Blaine and Birch Bay had the highest cases of diabetes in all of Whatcom County. I know. And I'm thinking, that's the perfect place to get out and about and do things, but they didn't feel safe doing that. So what we did is we created the Birch Bay by Numbers booklet, and we gave a copy to every single person we lobbied, every single county council member, the executive. And at the end of many of those meetings, they would thank us because we left it open. They would thank us, and then a couple of them said this is the best business plan they had ever seen, especially coming from a rural area. So within that booklet, we had the geographical description of Birch Bay. So in this case, it would be Lummi Island, the population year-round and seasonal, the demographics. People did not know we had a school. And when I was working with the Ferndale School District, they thought we should just close the school and would help with the overall budget. The history, which needs to include Lummi Nation. Property assessment, this was huge in keeping the school open. And within that amount of tax dollars that went to the school district, all of a sudden people were fine with keeping the school open. Because I told them that I think a lot of people would not vote for a bond or a levy if we didn't have a school. So the tax breakdown, school, port, and library, and the island organizations. Who are they, what are they, and what kind of membership? What are the numbers? Then the cottage industries, there's a lot. Economics, what does the county bring? This was startling for some people who are anti-native, but $6.6 billion goes into Washington state funds from the tribal nations in Washington state. 6.6 annually, not just total, it's annual. So what do we contribute economically? Tourism, the Airbnb, and there you get into that. I don't know who's paying their taxes, so we have to be careful. The beach school, what's it all about? To keep it open, it became an international baccalaureate. What is the student count? And how many of the students actually come from Gooseberry? Because it's closer. So culturally, we are the most diverse, maybe, in Whatcom County. And then there's always the story about the ferry. Myra Remus has the figures of our voter turnout, which is high. It's one of the highest voter turnouts in the county for a community.
Hmm.
And I did get tentatively permission, and the commissioner's staff, the staff will bring it, is a clipboard with a sign in for public comment. And we don't usually do that. It's kind of a freewheeling sort of thing, but I think it gives a structure. We use our minutes really, really well when they're there, and people have a sense to think about what they're going to talk about. So, and I don't have all the other answers for your questions, but we're getting there. But my suggestion would be to create the Lummi Island by the numbers and send it home with each commissioner. Give it to them to take home, give it to them at the top of the meeting so that as you have public comment, so say, for example, Lane, you can choose within your group. You talk about the geographical description and demographics. Say you do that. Then if you're the first topic within the booklet, then try to be the first person in the public comment, and you can direct them to that booklet piece. So they follow along with you.
Right. I have to say, I would be surprised if we will be able to get the whole story, but I think that this for the first time, as much of that as we can. I think that having as many organizations having the tome, because I mean, if you look at the calendar from this month's tome, it's off the chart, really.
I know.
It's a full page.
Like, well, no, we can't use a public doc. We are way too busy doing other things. But I totally agree. I think as the goal for going forward with the committee is certainly because honestly, I think we're in probably just as much need to educate the islanders as we are the commissioners. But I think what we'll want to do in the next week is kind of set what we think will be realistic for this visit, and then see how we can maintain kind of ongoing, and maybe that means coming, being able to meet with the new executive director a little later in the fall, and by then have more information. Yeah, Alan.
Terry, do you have a copy of that old Birch Bay color by the numbers book?
I don't think I do, but I certainly can get it.
That would be a good help.
Yeah.
It was actually designed and developed by a retired school teacher. We had classes at every meeting.
Yeah. Well, school teachers rock. They deserve a lot more credit than they deserve, than they get. But yeah, if we could find a copy of that templates to go by are always good, especially successful ones.
Well, and here's what, just as a quick note. So then it was the berm was what we were trying to get, that pedestrian pathway that some of you have seen. Well, 1976 is when it was approved. Last April 2021 is when we had the ribbon cutting.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it was $14 million. And they couldn't figure out where are we going to get this money? They would tell us, we don't have that kind of money. If we went to the county council chambers and spoke, he said, there are so many other issues. There's so many, and there are. So what you do is you bring them to your house, not house. We actually had a Century 21 real estate office, and we brought them in one at a time and gave them the Birch by the Bay by the numbers. And we emphasized it is a voting block. And sure enough, it was unanimous to move forward and to give us, it came to a total of about 14 million. And then we just got, because of council and governments, that didn't complete the trail. It completed the berm, but not the trail on top. We just got another 1.2 million, 1.25 million to take it further down into Cottonwood, which is near Birch Bay Village.
Yeah. These projects, you have to have foresight.
Yes.
On all of these projects.
Yeah.
It's not like you could just snap your fingers and they're done. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. But yeah, building awareness of the island and its residents, what we're all about. That's great.
And you have a lot of new residents.
Yes, we do. And we're trying to figure out ways, LICA is trying to figure out ways to
Reach them.
reach out to them
Immediately.
immediately. Yes.
Yeah. So yes, and I love, I think that that idea of we have the realities of island life, which I think many long timers manage to live day to day, pretending that they don't live on an island. But we were talking about it's so important for newer people to actually have that clue instead of suddenly realizing, wait a minute, there's not a dock here after it's been something.
Yeah, after they've moved here and said, oops. But yeah, we're actually developing LICA's developing volunteers. And we just recently gotten one that is absolutely gung-ho on reaching out to new residents. So LICA is getting more traction.
Excellent.
And we're going to get more. I mean, besides having Paul, the historian of the island, who's got the information he's got, some of the demographics we have, because when we mail on out the tome, we mail to every residence on island. So we can tell you exactly how many residents there are. However,
Residences, buildings.
Buildings.
Yeah.
We can't tell you the specific population through a seasonal variation because of we have so many that are off books. So that's a little bit more difficult to garner, but we can garner ferry statistics. And those start pointing a direction with how many passengers, et cetera, during a specific period of time travel on through. That would give us a capture on that of how many more are coming. Are they coming, by day, whatever. That data is all available. And LICA happens to be also giving a 60th celebration a few days after, actually, this meeting for the ferry, because it's its 60th anniversary, and it is the single thread that binds every person on this island. Very few come here and go from here without using the ferry. So we're able to garner those statistics in a lot of different ways to give us some other numbers as well.
Yeah. I was just thinking another organization, Lane, that we should include in this is the Salish Center for Sustainable Fishing.
Oh, there's the folks who just bought that land down in Lego Bay.
Well, they acquired it through a will.
Oh, okay.
May I make a comment? Paul will remember this. And he's older than me, not by much, but he's going to remember this. When I was on LICA board, we did an anniversary for some reason. It's something to do with the ferry, and we wanted to celebrate. It was a LICA function, and we brought in the old chiefs. We brought them in from around the state. They were our guests of honor, and they spoke, and it was really impressive. And it took us newbies, because that was when we were new, it took us into their world that they lived in for so many years. And it was really quite special. So if you ask Paul what that event was, I think for your 60th, that might be really special, because their families came with them. Some of the chiefs who, their families came with them, and they're all off island now, most, I think. And another thing that I mentioned before is Paul is quite special. Some people are annoyed with Paul. I find him special, but because he stays neutral, except on Next Door Neighbor, maybe, But the Tome in Brown Betty, county government highly respects Paul Davis to the point where August 7th is Paul Davis Day countywide. Jack Louse, County Executive Jack Louse, proclaimed that day, and we had the celebration here at our home. And Paul had no clue. He helped me set up the sound system and everything, and then he's the one. And it's, you know, so it's another part of we're way out there, and a lot of people's minds were way away. And some people think they should just cut the tie line and let us float over to Island County because they already know how to deal with islands. But that's not going to happen. But he keeps us tied. He know the county government people that get the Tome and Brown Betty know that they're getting the facts. They're not getting opinions. They're getting a sense of our community. It's again like what Lane mentioned. It's our story. What is our story? And our story evolves.
Barry, are you aware of our LICA, the island's website that we put together?
You're asking me?
Yes.
Yes, I haven't visited it much, but I have gone. It was at a meeting. You mentioned it, or
Yes.
someplace there was a discussion.
Yeah.
Right.
The reason I bring that on up is that's also a foil for us to get the message on off. It's both Tome, et cetera. And we found that people like to have that piece of paper in their hands.
Yes.
And putting that back on. Matter of fact, we're folding them again tomorrow. So the paper one will be on out in the mail the next few days. But the whole sense of community ties on through how we're able to effectively communicate with the community and then get the feedback from the community, what their needs, what their desires are.
Right.
So can we get back on track to prep for the meeting? How have any Terry, have any other cities that you all, or whatever you've mentioned, that you visited as Park and Rec, done anything like we're attempting to do, this pre-meeting before?
No, and that's what's interesting to me, because I asked the question when you were one of the new commissioners. You ask more questions, I think. At least I do. I ask a lot of questions. And then I'm startled when I found out that's a park across from the Willows. I had no idea. And I live here, but
and there's a park, and there's a parking problem.
Yes, but there tends to be, this is my perception, but when you're on a commission, have you ever been down to the Whatcom County Chamber of Council chambers?
I've walked past it.
Okay, it's very official looking. It's great to bring students, and Ferndale City has a student city council, not just the high school. There are students who are on the student city council that are mentored by the adult city council. So anyway, they have been separate, other than we represent areas. I represent District 5, which is Point Roberts, Blaine, Birch Bay, Ferndale, Lummi Nation, Lummi Island, and Eliza Island. That's what I represent. And Lummi Nation representatives were over here today to talk about tourism. And then, so we're each one supposed to be, we're advocates for our area. Well, when you look at the map, we here in District 5 have the largest number of trails and parks. There are other parks elsewhere that are bigger. But we have the largest number. And then Congress in 2019 designated this, I think Lane sent you all of that, the Washington State National Maritime Heritage Area. I'm still trying to learn that title. Well, that's what I represent. It is the part of the 3,000 miles of coastline. So it's a big conversation all of a sudden. And it's been separate it's like the commission has been away from the people. I don't know if I'm saying that well enough.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
my suggestion, once we got, and COVID threw us all away, forever away,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
a couple of years. So my suggestion at the last meeting, or the meeting before, the previous meeting, I said, isn't it time that we get out within our communities and talk about what we can do for them? Isn't it time, rather than having an occasional meeting? We all have been Zoomed, but in the past, you send out a public announcement. And hi, Chris.
No, he can't hear you yet.
Oh, okay. They send out a public announcement that there's going to be a meeting, but if you're not into the governmental public press releases kind of thing, as a citizen on the island, how would you know? Or why would you care? So I suggested what we're doing. You're the first. The island
Good.
is the first. It's the first one with the sign-up sheet for public comment. The staff they're so delighted because it makes their job easier. And then when I discovered how many people have never been here, it's like, wow. So we're gonna do that. This month we're a whole vendor, and I'm not sure who's organizing that. It's in my district, but it's already been organized. And then, like I said, we're gonna be up at Silver Lake Resort, which is stunningly beautiful. Didn't even know we had one in Whatcom County until I took a drive. And then we're going to be at the Bay Horizon Activity Center in Birch Bay. Now, how many of you have been there? Did you know that it was an Air Force command center to protect us from the Russian invasion during the Cold War? And I think it was highly successful because we were not invaded. So we should build towers, but they used the sand off the beach.
Mm.
And so they left you do what you got to do, and then you don't worry about what's left behind a big hole.
Yeah.
So anyway, to answer your question, it was this is an opportunity to change the format.
Yeah, and I think it's a great opportunity to do this and then keep it current.
Yes.
So it can be used over and over again as needed.
And
yes.
The other interesting thing is we were out on a boat just yesterday, and I tell you what, you just have to make sure you get some pictures from off island, because when you look back at like Eastern Preserve, you can stand and look at and go, but that looks big. When you see it from the boat, it is a chunk of mountain.
Yeah.
So I think that's the other thing, is trying to get some pictures and get, a sense of the visual tour, and another time get commissioners to come out so we can take a boat ride.
I was just going to say that's a brilliant idea, Lane. Take him on a boat ride.
Somebody else, I think Dave Perry, boat guy, and Chris were probably the ones who were like, we should be on a boat. But
Dave's got the right boat.
Yeah.
there's that.
I think we
Years
need the
ago-
landing craft for all the commissioners, Chris.
Yeah.
Well, years ago, there was, and Paul Davis would remember it, again, details, but I went on that, my husband and I went on it, and we went on a tour. It's the Mosquito Fleet or something, a small boat. And we went over to Vandovi Island. The Islanders did, they kind of rented it. And we did that. There's no reason, if we're careful, there's no reason why we can't start doing stuff like that again.
Yeah.
Take the commissioners on a boat ride.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe not for this time, but
Yeah.
No.
for that one-on-one experience type of thing,
Mhm.
or whatever. Yeah, I think these are all great ideas. And Chris, by the way, this is recorded, so you'll be able to catch up.
Yeah. So
Thank you. Sorry I was late.
It's all right.
It's okay. So one other thing I thought, I'll share my screen. Let me share my screen again. I was kind of thinking, as if you go to a tour, it'd be nice, we can, make a map that, just gonna bring, sorry, I didn't mean to turn on actual whiteboard. Let me share, not a whiteboard, but my desktop. So I was kind of thinking about we can work a lot more on the order in which you see things, but it would be a mix of people, places, things, and history, and important things like as we go over to Asian Preserve, make sure that you show the commissioners the road damage that they have offered help pay to fix, right?
Yeah.
It's like $40,000, I think, right?
Correct.
So, but to see it in person is I think would be very compelling. Alan, did you have something?
Yeah, Grange should be first because that's where the
Well,
muster point would be. Yeah.
Right. I was doing a drive around, so as you come back, if you've left from there anyway, so we can
Yeah.
reorder obviously. But my point
Yeah.
is just
Yeah.
to imagine going all the way around the island.
Yeah.
And we have to figure out how to get cross island. I think the fire department and the disaster preparedness would be another important
Yes.
Excellent.
to point out.
Elaine, one of the things that we should add, I think, somebody mentioned scenic estates, and I think that's a great
Yeah.
idea. We could show the private dock there.
Uh-huh.
Just to kind of
Oh, yeah.
highlight, remember, we presented the sites that we considered.
Yes.
And
Good point.
one of the
Yes.
very important sites I think we want to mention on Legal Bay is the former Holly Marina, right? And the fact that that's Lummi Nation property, and maybe that's an opportunity down the road. I don't want to detract from our primary goal and location, but there's history there, right? And there's,
Mhm.
and I don't know all the details about that. Many of you folks that have been here longer than I have know much more.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
May I make a comment about the Holly Marina and the land owned by Lummi Nation?
Yeah.
In the last discussion with the people, the elders who are working on the decision of what to do with that land, and it was pre-COVID, so I'm not sure, but their idea was to create a restaurant
Mm.
and also an artist retreat. And bring in artists, and if you're familiar with the Lummi people, they're known worldwide for their art.
Mm-hmm.
And have the some smaller buildings where artists can stay and work on their art, and the art would be on display.
Mm.
So I don't know where it is on the topic right now, but it's quite special.
Yeah, it'd be something sort of like LICA Quarry is. They have a facility, and then they have artists in residence that come and they produce art and stay for a while and stuff. That'll be great. Yeah.
Okay. So, and certainly we'll want to point out, I mean, it's pretty, it depends on how many people are out at 7 in the evening, but yes, this, or we'll be meeting before 7, right? It's pretty apparent that the entire convoy will have to stop probably repeatedly for pedestrians and bicyclists. So, I mean, that's just the reality of living on the island, right? I did have one, again, sort of a housekeeping, and that is, what do you suppose the plan would be for eating if they're coming at 4 and going all the way through to 10? What do you suppose? Will people bring their own? The Bistro Cafe will be open.
Gosh.
Yeah, but getting into it would be a problem unless we reserved.
I'm taking a note, and I'll ask what they want to do. We've never had I'm trying to think what we did. We had last month was the going away party for the executive director.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had champagne and cake and sparkling cider, and but it was brought by the commissioners.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There would it be inappropriate for an organization or organizations on the island to make a dinner of some sort?
Ooh, like a potluck?
Well, I'm thinking more like the parish dinner or the elderberries or the Grange does, that kind of a thing.
I'll ask.
Yeah. I just want to be careful that they don't see it as bribery.
Come on, this is the island. We potluck.
Yeah,
We do.
but
That's what I started when I first started getting into lobbying off island, is invited island of decision makers over
mhm,
to the island for our potlucks. I came from working in big cities, so a potluck was like, wow, I know what it is by definition, but I'd
mhm,
never experienced one.
Yeah.
So we are known for potluck. And they came
Okay.
and they participated. So
okay. Because I'm
I'll ask
thinking,
that question.
I'm thinking that if the weather is good, it could be something that we could, in coordination with the Grange, have on the outside deck,
Mhm.
something like that. Um, just as an idea.
Mhm.
Something else too is at the last meeting when this was all approached, the previous executive director said they have county vehicles
Mhm,
and the staff could bring those over.
Yeah, their
But
buses and stuff.
that at the same time, it's still that issue about being
Yeah.
inside.
I know there is a set of radios recently purchased on the island. I will get with Lane to discuss that offline of this. There are 20 of them. And we can see if they would be appropriate to have one in each vehicle if we did a caravan.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, great. Okay, so it sounds like we'll kind of keep brainstorming about that idea and what it would take, what we would need to support that. I think my next, let's see, I'll hand out sample tomes. Terry, you had mentioned that the commissioners used to get a tome. Do they still get a tome?
I don't know.
Paul sends out free copies of the tome. Um, I don't have the spreadsheet up right
Okay,
now,
we'll check.
but
We'll
yes,
check tomorrow.
he does. Um, he has a list of everybody he sends them to. It's a fair number of people he sends them to.
Okay.
Yeah, there's quite a few. I think
Yeah.
it's,
Okay.
what
Okay,
he's told me, because I tend to send him things,
Mhm.
not knowing for sure.
Yep.
But he gets messages from the health department,
Yep.
like Public Works. And
Yep.
so I would check with him. I'm not aware. In fact, nobody on this commission knew anything about the tome.
Yeah. See,
And
that worries me, is that I know he's sending stuff out, but it might be one of those things that it's hitting the secretary and that's as far as it's going.
that's true, because if we go straight to the staff, during the pandemic, we would get FedEx packages with the agenda and everything. For next week's meeting, I were to get it this week. But in person now, they're handed to us.
Yeah.
We get an email attachment with our agenda and all of our information, but everything else is handed to us. So I'm not sure, that's the only way us commissioners get information.
Yeah.
And,
I'll check with Paul and get a list of those.
okay.
Because I don't remember if it's expressed in the spreadsheet or not. But I'll look at the spreadsheet, and it'll be in the off island section. But I know he sends out a bunch of free copies of the tome off island.
Well, I know
And,
that a couple of months ago, Paul asked me if Satpal and Bill Elfo were getting the tome through
Yeah,
an
'cause
email. And so I contacted Satpal and Bill Elfo, and at that point, they were not getting them, and Bill Elfo used to get them.
yeah, I
and
think
he
it's
really
being
enjoyed
filtered.
them.
I think somebody's filtering them out, and they shouldn't be doing that.
so we can check. So we'll check tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And that's
So-
also the reason I bring up the website, because we're gonna have that discussion internally as well about getting that same information out there.
Mhm.
But if they don't get it home now, they can always cross-check with the website and find a variety of the other information.
Yeah. But Paul's sending them.
Yeah.
And,
We'll discuss this tomorrow.
yeah,
Yeah. So what I wanted to do is just review. I started a table of organizations pulled in part from the phone book and from the website and from, ones that I'm familiar with. But I think we need to break these up and have, because I won't be able to contact all of them myself personally. Break these up and see who we can get to reach out to folks. One I will mention is the Lummi Island, the Foundation for Education. I did talk with Tom, and I don't know his last name, at the market the other day. And one thing he brought up, so I will ask him if he wants to put this onto the discussion, community discussion. He said for many years he's been interested in seeing, could we put together end to end a trail across Lummi Island? Because there's a lot of it in place, but there are some connectors that would require maybe something like some parking or transition. And then of course there are ones that would, you'd probably want more explicit permission from the owners instead of just walking across it and assuming it's okay. So it's an interesting idea. Anyway, so I'm hoping I'll reach out to the education folks and hopefully somebody from the school and or from the life can be at the meeting. These are roughly in alphabetical order, by the way.
I would like to see us try to find one of the organizations that has a B&B that pays their taxes, represent that community.
The island, like island concierge, something like
well,
that.
no, they're concierge. They don't.
Bloom.
Yeah, they provide facilities to the people. But I'm thinking that a good candidate would be to ask Full Bloom Farm.
I was just going to suggest that because we've had one-on-one meetings. The previous tourism director, who is retiring at the end of this year, so they're doing just to give you a heads up on changes for the island in Whatcom County. It's a national search for her replacement, and she was a national search when she took over, when she came in. Her name is Sandy Ward, and she is just really lovely. And she came to the island pre-pandemic and had signs. They're free wayfinder signs. And a couple of the islanders were upset and told her to leave. And the signs were free. It was to help people so people weren't walking up to private property thinking they could use the bathroom.
Yeah.
Or the restaurant, Susie Worth, people had thought she was a restaurant. So it was really, and they were free. That's the thing I keep wanting to say, and they're really well done. It's a national program. So what we did is, after the fact, she handled that disrespect really well. And then later on, we made a one-on-one appointment with Liz Marshall from Full Bloom.
Yeah.
And we had lunch there.
Yeah.
It was delightful. So my recommendation is Liz Marshall.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Marshalls are very big contributors to Meals on Wheels on the island, often, and yeah, great people. Another
very
thing,
very supportive of the public dock, since they
Yep.
tried to save the last one.
Yeah. The other thing is, I would suggest maybe, because money speaks, get at least one of the island realtors to talk about property values and how things are going in that perspective, possibly.
I think that's a great idea. Especially right now. The
Yeah.
last couple of
Yeah,
years.
'cause I get a newsletter from, I think it's Anderson. Hold on a second. He's one of the,
Was he have an advertisement in?
yeah, I'm looking, I've got the directory here.
There's Sandy Harmony.
Yes, Sandy Harmony is another good one. But this particular one I'm thinking of puts out a very detailed statistical analysis of what's going on the island.
Ooh, excellent.
Yeah, Ken Swanson, I think it is, from Windermere. But that's a segment of the island that I think has value to talk about, things like that.
I agree, especially right now.
Yeah. Idea. LICA, Greg, maybe we should have copies of the island directory available.
Good idea.
Noted.
Handout.
But I don't know if it has that much value, but noted because it's got the business and a variety of the other contacts.
Just to show what we do for the island.
Yeah.
Now,
Community.
that was interesting. I almost wonder, maybe you can just pull out the personal part, because when I suggested bringing that to the commissioners meeting, people said that they did not believe that people would want their actual phone number shared.
Right.
But we could pull out the white pages.
Well, I'm not saying hand it to them
Oh, okay.
to take back with them.
Okay.
I'm saying have it on tap so they can look at it.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was my.
Well, if we set up booth-like stuff, we'll do that anyway.
Yeah. Because as a service, you're right, it's a huge service. And the website, I think you want a laptop with a website running.
Yep.
Agreed. I think the key thing there is it's a community service. We need to keep saying that word.
Right.
Community, and this is our story.
Yep.
Yeah, we don't call it the LICA website. We don't say it's ours. We say this is the community website.
Yep.
I'm glad you did that.
People hate typing the longer name, but it's what it is.
LICA.us or LICA us.
Yeah, well, but it's our lummiisland.org. So it's the island.
Community.
Let's see, I'm seeing.
So I can follow up with library.
Brooke is back at work, by the way.
Yeah, she just was. I just talked to her actually. But I was sending a message to the FOIL folks.
I'm presenting the LIFAC in first week of August.
Yes, I was there the other night, and sent the update. You know, I did the public service announcement kind of a thing, and invited them. But I did not know if there was a specific person that would be a good
For what?
representative. If we wanted someone from LIFAC there, is there a?
There is.
We're just going to continue to push out a generalized and hope somebody signs up.
We'll talk to Bill Sager and see what he can suggest.
Okay.
Because there is a head of LIFAC.
Chris.
Yeah, something like that. Another thing that might be interesting to have some representation is condos on the island. Cemetery district, not so much. Those.
Well,
Civic Club.
When we drive by, they will show them.
Yeah. Civic Club is another. I should put that up here. Isle area you've already got.
The Civic Club has some really fascinating history.
Yes, they do. Other than the fact that they voted out men. Let's see, but that's very typical of civic clubs. The Islander is another business that probably would be
Yeah.
good.
So what I need is some people to sign up for some of these. Chapel, can we sign up Chris Immer?
Or Greg, Greg is the president of the chapel.
Is he?
Yes, he
Okay,
is.
so I'll leave Greg and Chris to debate about that amongst yourselves.
I'm doing LICA, so it's kind of like, okay.
Yeah. Then
I wear two hats.
and the Grange itself. So I'll leave someone else to
That is currently, what's her name? Greg?
Leslie Dempsey.
Leslie Dempsey.
He's brilliant.
okay. Can somebody volunteer to send a message or follow up with the Grange?
We're in communication with them right now, but put Leslie Dempsey on down there, and you know, we got a variety of things going with them right now.
Yeah.
Oh, so I'll say Greg and company. Okay.
Mhm.
Islander.
Is that Brad? Don't remember his last name.
I know I should know his last name.
Oh, hold
I
on.
can drop by a something.
Yeah. Congregational Church will be Rama.
Rama, yeah, I can. And once you've got that, you've also got elderberries and parish nurses. Are they? You're part of Congregational Church.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, sort of, but it would be more is it
Jane
Jane
Phillips.
Jane Phillips.
Oh, got it.
Okay, there. Okay.
1, 2, 2, okay.
ReefNet Association.
I will
ReefNet
send Rama and ask her to contact the related.
Right. And I actually talked to her about this meeting.
To Rama?
So yeah, but
Okay.
we need to get her directly in the loop. ReefNet Association and the Salish Sea Center for Sustainable Fishery is the same thing.
Okay, good. That'll make
pretty much.
Anybody know how to?
Riley, don't remember his last name.
Stark?
Stark.
Oh.
Isn't it Stark?
I think so. Could be.
Yeah, hold on, I can tell you.
Yes, it is.
Oh. Yeah.
Anybody able to reach out to him?
You know who you can talk to also that can help with that organization is to talk to Carol McKinney. She's working a lot with them.
I can talk to Carol. I bought her old truck.
Well, that would be great because it would seem like since they're in the middle of planning, we'll have just had the ReefNet. Is it festival before the 18th or after?
No, the festival is the 20th. The ferry 60th celebration is the 21st. Okay,
great. So, I mean, they certainly just have a flyer that they're going to be using anyway, and hopefully someone might be hanging around. But so
well, we have LICA has a booth there.
I have a question. Victoria Souza.
Yeah.
She has the garden, Salish Sea Garden, or the garden, and then she has that mammal research.
Yeah, I was going to say she would be good to talk about wildlife and stuff and how it relates to the island. No, it's not shellless wildlife. It's the it's on the website Lane under the nature section. The correct title of the thing.
Is this where you report wounded marine animals?
Yeah, well, it's not wounded marine. It's a different name, but that's who you call for wounded animals.
And her name is D'Souza?
Victoria.
S-O-U-Z-E, I think. S-O-U, yeah.
Okay.
He's on the LICA board.
Yeah.
Oh.
She's easy to get a hold of.
Okay, so can one of you LICA people contact her?
And what are we asking these folks to do?
And it's SOUZE.
Okay. Um,
Consider,
Show up, provide comment.
So like in the sort of pseudo public market, like have a table or presentation? What, what do we, I need to
Well,
know,
not all of them are going to be able to do that,
yeah.
but at least we should approach the people to say, hey, do you have something in the way of a written comment at a minimum that we can give Parks and Recreation on how Parks and Recreation relates to your particular view of the island? That's what I'm thinking. I mean, because like we have wildlife that is protected and needs more protection. I mean, Victoria would probably be pretty good at talking about that. Heritage Trust is obviously going to talk about the nature preserves and stuff like that. But we need to at least get from them, I think, some sort of written blurb on who they are, so the Parks and Rec gets an idea of what's on the island and the people on the island and how they're involved. Does that make sense, Lane?
Yeah, I'm just writing down because I was going to send everybody the blurb that we put into the tome. So you could use that for most of the email, Perry, and then, Dave. And then there's just sort of in this spot, put nothing, the reason you said, oh, I think you'd be a great fit in red, so you can sort of personalize it.
Yeah, because the more Parks and Recreation knows about the island, and the more the commissioners know about the island in general, according to what Terry is saying, is the better.
Right. Now we may, it could very, I mean, to me, it's like, how do you fit into island life? It may be up to us to see it and say, hey, that has to do with senior services, for example, or that has to do with the wildlife, which, Parks and Recreation is trying to, increase opportunities for people to see wildlife safely. So, and maybe ask them, a handout would be great, and then even available to show and tell.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
So then I can send everybody to this tomorrow morning. I'll send this to everybody, and then we'll have a similar message going to people.
Great.
We basically will need to act as our own little chamber of commerce.
Yes, this is a good point. And I'll speak to the Beach Store Cafe if somebody else wants to speak to Willows. And I think, it's important for them to say, these are some of the things that Willows does for the community, participating with Wheels. Because Meals on Wheels, is that a county program?
It is run by the Whatcom County Council on Aging as one of their sub-departments. The Senior Center is one of them, which I used to work for and cook for.
Okay.
Meals on Wheels is a part of that. And we have a special arrangement with Meals on Wheels, and LICA supports annually Meals on Wheels, and we have volunteer drivers and everything else. So yeah, there's a lot going on.
Yeah. So I think you may, if it's the parish, it's the parish nurses that coordinate that?
No.
Okay.
No, that
So
is
obviously
completely separate.
you need to have your booth with the right information, and on Saturday Market you can tell me what it is, so I'll have the story next time. Because I do associate it with the parish nurses.
This is as a note. Connie Berry coordinates currently Meals on Wheels.
Oh, okay. So I'll actually call them out as a separate Meals on Wheels. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's a separate. And we also do the blood bank drives normally, except for COVID, and that is Mary Ross, I believe.
Yeah.
That is kind of interesting. I might stick a few.
We have a
more.
lot going on the island.
Oh, it's
That,
kind of,
like Terry says, nobody knows about.
Exactly.
because we did, yeah. I mean, we have vaccinations on the island. You know, when you think about
Yep,
some of the things. Now, fire department, I think.
they did that. Yeah.
So for public health, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, well, let's spend. If I'll send these notes out to people tomorrow afternoon, and we'll just whatever gaps are here. If people could let me know if there's some folks you know or could reach out to once you see the blurb message. Just the
Is there a conservancy?
Yes, there is.
is there
So,
a conservancy? Did you say?
Yes.
is that on the list?
Oh,
It-
above and beyond.
Yeah, they were founded in 1988, and I have a phone number, but I don't know if it's in the directory, in the yellow pages.
So they're not. So I have to admit, I think I thought that was a previous name for the Highland Heritage Trust.
No, it seems to be separate. It's just like there's a Lummi Island Historical Society as well,
Uh-huh.
And that's
which
Bobby
is
Hutchins,
not
I think.
which is not the archive.
I think Bobby Hutchins is the one for the Historical Society, isn't she?
Her and Joan Kuiper are the two big names I know.
Okay.
In fact, I talked to Joan today or yesterday, about what they're going to do for the 60th.
Well, won't that be convenient? Because they could do something like super simple.
Well, they're talking about having a booth at the 60th.
Yeah, but that means they'll have to have a handout, and they'll have it. I can have it ready on the 18th, right?
I hope so. Yeah.
So, because I would also envision this is, in some respects, these are handouts or blurbs.
Yeah.
We can provide to the.
And
How about the artist tour? Who coordinates that?
Mary Barstow.
Okay, yeah, do we have that listed here?
I
Pretty
don't
significant.
I
think
don't
so,
see it.
but that is the Lummi Island artist studio tour, and one of those is coming up
Yeah, we just
in
got an email about
in
it.
September, I think. Yeah, September. And that's Mary Barstow.
Right, okay.
She also does the Saturday market.
Oh, right.
Oh, then
okay.
we can talk to her on Saturday. Oh, that's the Mary who does the Saturday market.
Mhm.
Okay.
And has the building.
Okay,
does
then
the-
we will
does the
talk to
quilt.
her on Saturday.
Yeah, she does the quilts
Oh,
So-
she does the quilts. Okay.
and more. Quilts and more.
Close the book.
Filter et cetera. I get it. So we'll talk to her on Saturday.
Yeah, be careful. She's pretty busy. So
Well, we'll be there for a while.
Yep.
Okay. At least we'll tell her I'm going to send her an email and not to
Mhm.
send it to trash. Okay, you crazy kid. So I'd like to wrap this up because I don't want to take it longer than 8:30.
Mhm.
So next meeting.
I still gotta fix.
You're
Well,
still
deal for
working on
elderberries.
dinner. He's
No,
been
I
at
gotta
it.
do elderberries for tomorrow,
You've been
geez.
you've been working at that all day.
all
Uh,
day.
So next meeting.
I think we should have another one like next week at least.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
do you mind checking the calendar for me to see if,
Let's hold on.
yeah.
I gotta get out of you at full screen.
26, Tuesday?
Oops, that's not right. Hold on. I can't get out
Oh,
of
I
full
should
screen.
actually-
Would
That's
you
public
stop
doc.
sharing?
Yeah, I will
That's
stop
Public
sharing.
doc committee.
Okay, thank you. Now I can get.
Next, we are. Next Tuesday is our regular.
Yeah,
Yeah, regular public doc.
You're right. Okay.
yeah. Hold on. I'm checking the community calendar. We're
Mhm.
still adding stuff, and I have the copy of the printed tome here in front of me as well. So what's the date?
One week from today would be the 20. 9 and 7 is 26.
26?
Is the 26th.
Yeah, 26th, 7th to 8:30 is Public Dock Committee.
Mhm. I'm just trying to think if we are happy to.
Okay, the 27th is, okay, oh, wait a minute, August, July, sorry. Yeah, I think we're safe anywhere in that. But why don't we just do it on the public dock day? I've lost audio somehow.
No, we can hear
I hear
you.
you.
Yeah, I couldn't hear you all.
Oh, okay.
We weren't talking.
That'll do it. So why don't we just, I mean,
Because there's a LICA meeting the next night. So yeah, maybe we could do most of it during public doc, and anything LICA would it be
There
able
is
to
no LICA
no,
meeting.
there is no LICA meeting.
There's no LICA meeting on the 27th?
Nope.
Nope.
Oh, I just made it up. Okay, then I'll
Yeah,
review.
we skip.
July and August.
Oh, I get it. That's why. I was like, really? Because I have it on my calendar. Okay.
I
Yeah.
mean, I mean, our main focus is public dock on that day, but
Well, I
it's
think
for our overall benefit if we discuss this.
and we'll have already had our Saturday market on the 23rd, so we won't have another one right away. Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
So we'll just use the
26th then?
Yeah.
Okay.
So make
I
it
will
up.
pencil that in.
So it'll be public dock and park and rec visit.
Mhm.
Y'all have a great night. I gotta fix lunch for elderberries.
Okay, thank you, Greg.
Bye, Greg.
Thank you all.
You bet. And I'll send
Thank you.
no tomorrow. Thank you, Terry, and thanks for so much of the short and long term goals. It's so super helpful for us.
Very helpful.
I'll try and get the Birch Bay by the numbers.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And I'll find out answers to your other questions regarding the commissioners. What we can
The thing I have, main question I have is how early do you think they would be willing to come over? Because we can fill as much time as they're willing to give us.
Okay.
Especially
I'll
if
put it to them that way.
Because if they haven't seen the island, I mean, there are certain places they need to see. Absolutely.
Right.
Like Auto Preserve, the new preserve, some of the other places. And so, and just driving around the island, driving up to Scenic Estates and coming back and driving around takes a little bit of time. So I would say we get the most time out of them we can, the better. And if we can tease them with food somehow, so they don't go hungry, and we've got tour, food, meeting.
Right. The really quick too is it'll be important that if we have a limitation on the time, is that we show them where the Parks and Rec money has gone.
Yes.
That'd be important. I think it's 400,000 to the Eastern Preserve, and then it was a 40 or 50,000 they were asking for the road improvements. Another piece to add to your list, Lane, is the Salvation Army camp.
Oh my.
Yeah. I don't know how to get into that or who.
Well, you just drive by it. You don't have to. I mean, we'll go by it anyway. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, just to drive. Well, and I've been through there on tours because it was Lane search and rescue. It was set up as a shelter.
They practice.
They had
interesting. Okay.
So if you contact the county office, you could probably have them at least open it up that day. So we could drive into it, not just drive by if we have time.
Well, doesn't Salvation Army have to open that up?
Yes.
It's not county property per se.
No, it's private. Well, it's Salvation Army.
Salvation
and an
Army.
islander donated it, all of that, to Salvation Army.
You
But-
meant the county Salvation Army organization might be willing to open it.
Yes,
Got it.
yes, that's what I meant. And then
Yeah.
we were on a tour of it because of search and rescue, emergency preparedness. It's a shelter place.
Yeah.
Plus there's
Got it.
water access
Yeah.
or beach access, you know, so
See,
for
that's-
rescue.
See,
And
that's
a lot-
another thing.
Oh, go ahead.
No, you finish.
Is right across from the entrance is, when I was in the fire department, was a landing zone for the
Right.
the helicopters. And the helicopters aren't just the Airlift Northwest, it's the Navy helicopters and the Coast Guard helicopters.
Yeah, there's three.
So the Salvation Army was really a key piece.
There's actually three. There's the two airlift companies and the Coast Guard that go into those. And there, we have four of them on the island. But that Salvation Army thing, I mean, that's another thing I would love LICA somehow to see if we can get that revitalized and active again for people. It just,
You
it's
know
such
what
a great spot.
it is? It's amazing. Have you had a tour?
No,
Oh,
I'm
it's
too young.
amazing.
I've only been here 4 years.
Okay. Another thing is to add to the fire department
Hmm.
airlift, and we worked
Yeah.
with the naval search and rescue,
Mhm.
and the off islanders, mainlanders don't know those things.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
the fire
I
department,
added that. Yep.
yeah. So anyway, great meeting, you guys, and I'll try and get some answers for you.
Okay, hold on 1 second and I will stop the recording.